Hi, welcome to Relationship Talk with Laura, where we are improving the world, changing the world, by improving one relationship at a time. Last week we talked about sacrifice and selfishness in relationships. And our quote for the week, and let's see how well you did using it, was, when you lose yourself in the service of your loved ones, you find out who you truly are. Let's hope you had a great week and that you learned how to sacrifice good sacrifices with a glad heart. Today, we are going to talk about that fiery demon called anger. That's right, anger. Everyone gets angry at one time or other, and don't tell me that you don't. Don't say you've never been angry. Yours just might be the kind that is hidden underneath the cover and you're seething inside, or you have trouble sleeping at night because you're thinking about how angry you are at someone. Well, let's talk about what happens with the different types of anger. I'm going to liken our bodies to a balloon, and I'm going to start out with a red balloon. So, I have here a red balloon. It's all blown up, and it has a big tight knot around it. And this balloon represents somebody who is so angry that they fill up with hot air, until finally what they do is they just explode like a volcano. Ah! And look what happens. It damages the body. I can never use this balloon ever again because there is actual damage that happens to someone who explodes with anger. People can have heart attacks, literally. They can develop all kinds of physical problems from anger, high blood pressure. A doctor will tell you all the myriad of things that happen. The second kind of person isn't the hair trigger temper. The second kind of person is the kind that just lets it out little by little in a passive-aggressive form. So I'm going to use a yellow balloon for this one. All right, so this person is filled with hot air little by little, and then they'll be angry at you, but they won't tell you. Instead, they'll be late. They won't do what you want them to do. Sarcastic remarks. And they hold it in, and you still don't know what's wrong. You don't know why they're angry. And they keep going more. They do more passive aggressive things. They don't take out the garbage even though it's their job. The children don't make their beds because they're so angry at you. These are all passive aggressive. And this person is always going up and down in the anger. So, more things happen, they just fill up with more anger. But again, they just let it out. Yeah. Wah, 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 wah. Or they might just criticize. Wah, 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 wah. But nothing ever really comes out until finally it's emptied out, but then they start all over again. Angry all over again, and the process keeps going on. These make for very, very miserable people because they never solve their anger problems. Now let's talk about the last one. I have a blue balloon because blue is a nice, calming color. And the right way to get rid of anger is to be able to talk about it right away in a nice way and let out the one-time anger. So for example, if my husband did something that angered me, I might say to him right away, honey, I know you didn't mean to. Remember we learned this, you give them an excuse. I can't help feeling this way, but I feel angry when you grab the remote control from me and start switching channels when I'm already watching a TV program, and it just makes me angry. That's a good way to do it, and look what happens. The air goes completely out. You have the problem solved Hopefully, your mate is amenable to solving it, and your body is still intact and whole, because it's the healthiest way that there is to handle anger. All right, so what is the cost of anger in a relationship? Let's look at the various costs. One is emotional damage. Let me tell you a story about emotional damage. A friend of mine, when he was in high school, had a father that was a red balloon. In other words, he had a hair trigger temper. He was so angry, anything would make him angry. And he took it out on everyone but himself. So one day, this young man went to a basketball game at school with a friend. And after the game was over, the car had a flat tire. And so the young man had to change the flat tire. It made the young man 1/2 hour late when he got home that evening. The father didn't bother to ask him what was wrong, or what happened, or why he wasn't home on time. Instead, he flew into a rage. He was so violent, he grabbed the boy, he started hitting him, he grabbed him around the neck, started to choke him, yelling and screaming at him at the top of his lungs. Then he let go for a minute. He grabbed his nearby guitar, which the boy had worked towards buying himself, smashed the guitar to smithereens. Then all of a sudden, he fell on the floor in great pain. The boy called his mother. The mother called the ambulance. He was rushed to the hospital. He was experiencing a heart attack. Now, imagine the emotional damage that this did to this poor young boy. Let's go back to the chart, the cost of anger. Terrible emotional damage for this boy who did not have a chance to say, hey, I'm sorry, I was late because we had a flat tire. There weren't any cell phones back then, so he couldn't have called. And that emotional damage, too, of feeling like it was his fault that his father had a heart attack. So we look at cost of anger number 2, physical damage. Literally, you can physically hurt your body. And this was the case with this young man's father. He hurt his body because of his outrageous, uncontrollable anger. The cost of anger number 3 is the loss of relationships, spouse, children, job. Can you imagine if someone had a job and worked and every day exploded with hair trigger anger? Assuredly, this person would be fired and lose their job. Divorce ensues with men who are constantly angry. I have a great story, which is not a good story, of a woman who was continually beat up for whatever. And finally, she had had enough and walked out and filed for divorce. So we can lose our loved ones with verbal and physical anger and violence. And of course, the last one is loneliness, terrible loneliness. Our anger can alienate us from everyone around us until finally we are left all alone, without job, without family, without friends. So now let's take a look at what causes anger. What causes anger? 1 is the need to intimidate and control others. 2 is selfishness, and 3 is jumping to conclusions. So trying to control and intimidate others goes along with selfishness, because when you think about it, analyze yourself. When you are angry, why are you angry? Usually because you're not getting your own way. Because you are not getting what you want or what your goal is. Think about your relationships. And then there are people that just want to control others and intimidate them. Unfortunately, in the workforce, we see this a lot. And so when we know this, we can analyze someone who's angry at us and ask ourselves, what is the cause of their anger? Do they want to control me? Are they trying to intimidate me? Or are they just being selfish right now, and we need to talk about that and come to a resolution? And of course, lastly, jumping to conclusions, remember the boy who came home late from the basketball game. He came home late from the basketball game, and his father didn't bother to ask him, "Son, that's not like you. Why were you home a half an hour late?" To which the boy could have said, "Oh, Dad, unfortunately, we went out to the parking lot and there was a flat tire and we had to change it, and it's the first time I ever changed a flat tire with my friend, and notice my hands, they're all dirty and greasy now, and thanks for asking, Dad, but hey, now I know how to change a tire." Think what a different scenario it would have been. A whole different world. So let's look at how we can control anger. How can we control anger? First of all, identify activities that can calm you. That might be biking. It might be swimming, any kind of a sport. It might be reading or listening to music. Or it might be learning to meditate. Number 2, use a visual aid to stop you. You might have to wear a rubber band around your wrist and snap it to snap you into reality. And I'm all for taking adult time outs. You separate, you say to whoever you're angry with, let's take a time out. You stop and you go to your separate places and then come back and talk about it later. Then you can share your underlying feelings. I have a story to tell you about that. So, there was a young woman who was married. She was an interior designer, had a great career, so she traveled a lot. But every time she traveled, her husband got angry at her. And when she came home from the trips, he was really angry at her in a passive-aggressive way. Finally, one day she said, "Honey, we need to sit down. I've noticed that you have a pattern. You're angry at me when I leave and when I come back. What's going on?" Well, what it turned out, his underlying feelings were he was scared stiff that she was going to meet somebody else on her travels and have an affair. So when she convinced him that she was 100% dedicated to him, and then asked, let's have a resolution, what can we do to solve this problem, they decided that they would talk on the phone every night and have a little good night ritual at a certain time while she was on the road. And that made him happy, and it solved the problem, and the anger was all gone. And so the last one on what can you do is seek for a deep inner spiritual resolution. Now, what on earth do I mean by a deep spiritual inner resolution? What I mean by that is this. When you meditate, when you read the Holy Bible, or when you read any uplifting literature that you connect with, you're going to have a chance to think deeply. And in doing that, you connect spiritually with God or the universe or with your higher power, whatever you want to call it. And in doing that, it washes over you and heals you ultimately of any anger that you have had once you have done the other steps too. So let's take some questions now. Question number 1 comes from Annie from Oregon. My 3-year-old has just started biting her brother on the arm when she is mad. What should I do? Well, why do you think she resorts to a violent activity when she's angry? It's because she can't talk and express herself. Now, she may know how to talk, but she isn't old enough that she knows how to express her feelings right off. And maybe she can't tell her brother, I don't like it when you take my toy away from me. Please give my toy back to me, or I'm going to tell Mommy. She doesn't have that ability to do that. So it's your job as mother to first teach her she's not to bite, and teach her how to talk to her brother. And it's great to have practice sessions, have little dialogues. Role playing can be a lot of fun, and it's a way that children can learn how to behave in a much better way and learn about anger. And if you're still having trouble with that, then get her a punching bag. One of those punching bags, toy ones, that she can punch or bite and get at her anger. And then when it's out, then you can have a chance to talk to her about expressing herself with her brother. But she'll learn that she never takes it out on her brother. Good question. Good luck. Terry from San Francisco, I know that I have an anger problem. I have the hair trigger temper you have talked about. I get angry and lash out without thinking. What should I do? Time out! You need to use the tool adult timeout. When you feel that hot air energy filling up in your face and your face gets all red, you know that you are getting ready to be a volcano. And when that happens, it's not good, it's not pretty. And besides that, it's going to hurt you physically. So I want you to buy yourself a rubber band, put it around your wrist, and when that starts to happen, snap it. And that will jolt you out of it, and then you take your adult time out wherever you are. If you're at work, then go to the bathroom. And in the bathroom, you take deep breaths. At least 10 times. And then visualize yourself in a nice, beautiful place. It could be a beach, it could be a garden, and calm down, cool down. And then when you get back to your desk, go on your computer and start writing out your angry feelings so that you can analyze yourself and be clear. Our quote of the week is, lose your temper, lose your message. So remember, you have got to calm down first. So take that adult time out, and it'll really, really help you. Number 3 question is from Sherry from Salem, Oregon today. Could you tell me how to meditate when I'm angry? That's a great question. I just started talking about that a few minutes ago, which is, again, to take deep breaths in through the nose, release it through the mouth. Do that at least 10 times. And then envision your neck relaxing. Talk to yourself. Your head relaxing, your shoulders relaxing, your arms relaxing. Talk yourself all the way down through the body. Then envision yourself in a beautiful place and try to be devoid of any thoughts. And do that for about 10 minutes, and that should help a lot. And I'll be sure and write on my blog more on how to meditate. Right now, Lisa is on the line. Hello, you're on the air.
Hi, Laura. My name is Lisa, and I have a question, not necessarily about intimate relationships. It's more about relationships with other people and friends, and I'm having, let me just tell you, I had an interesting situation with my sister. What happened was I had gone to visit my family. We live out of state, and I'd gone to visit them and got to spend time with my sister and her family and my mom, and we were staying with my mom. Anyway, we were going to leave on a Sunday, but we decided to extend the trip. And we extended it a couple days, and then another couple days, and we didn't let my sister know. But it was mainly because I wanted to spend more time with my mom and just have one-on-one time with her as well as my children to get to spend time with their grandma.
Mm-hmm.
Well, my sister ends up finding out that we were there longer and that she didn't know and she wasn't included. And it wasn't my intention to exclude her on purpose. It just happened that way. I didn't mean to. So anyway, what happened is she called me and just went off and was very upset, and she was swearing at me, and she was mad that I wasn't more thoughtful and that I had excluded her, and she thought that I was doing it on purpose and that I was upset with her for some reason, and maybe that's why. And honestly, in my mind, I didn't think I had done anything wrong. I wasn't there. I had gotten to spend time with my sister and her family. I got to spend at least 3 or 4 days with her. And on top of it, I knew she worked. I knew she was going to school part-time, and she has kids, and she's got her activities. So I assumed that she probably would just be really busy. And maybe that's my fault. I shouldn't have assumed anything. I don't know. So basically, I just let her blast into me, and I apologized, and I tried to understand her side and let her know that, I was sorry and that I understood why she was upset, but that it wasn't about... But that's the thing, is I couldn't say it wasn't about her because her feelings were hurt, so she was included, but it was about being with my mom. So, I don't know. My question is what could I do differently next time to ease the tension or ease the burden? But, she made me feel like I was completely in the wrong, and even when I apologized, she still didn't apologize to me. She just said, "Oh, it's okay, I forgive you, I accept your apology." So I left the whole situation really angry and upset. So what should I do next time?
Well, this is a classic example of anger that we've been talking about today on the program. It sounds like your sister has a hair trigger temper and that she just blasted you and criticized you without trying to understand. Is that right? Did I get that right?
Yeah.
And you said that she swore at you?
Yeah.
And refused to give you an inch, so to speak. She refused to give you any understanding while she was blasting you and venting.
Right.
So does that make you not want to see her ever again?
No, I love her. I love my sister, and that's what I kept telling her over and over again because she was irate. And I just said, I love you no matter what. I said, I am not angry with you. I'm not upset with you. I'm not trying to exclude you on purpose. I said that's just kind of what happened because I was spending time with our mom. And I wanted that one-on-one time. I wasn't trying to hurt your feelings. And she just, it's like she just couldn't understand that I wanted that time with her.
Okay, I see. So number one, she vented and blasted you.
Yeah.
And then you gave her understanding and said you were sorry that you hadn't let her know ahead that you were going to be there.
Right.
But she didn't want to give you any understanding for your side. Is that right?
Right.
Okay. So it is a classic example of we would put her in the category that she wanted to control you. She wanted to control you and intimidate you, and that was the cause of her anger. She wanted to control you into doing what she wanted you to do.
Yeah.
Okay, so when you know that about her, and it sounds like you were really wonderful. You did everything that we should do in good communication skills, which is repeating back what she was angry at and telling her you were sorry, explaining why you did it, and assuring her that you loved her. Did you ask what she wanted you to do to fix it?
Well, I asked her if she wanted to get together before we left. We were
All right.
leaving, I want to say, the next day. And so I said, well, we'd love to see you. It's not that we didn't want to see you. We just were doing things with Mom.
Mm-hmm.
And so she was manipulative, and she said, well, I don't know, I'm so upset, just let me think about it. And of course, here she's complaining about not getting to see me, and then she's telling me she's going to think about it. So, that just made me feel even more upset at her, because here already I'm feeling mad that she's getting mad at me for something that I didn't feel like I was in the wrong with.
But you apologized anyway, which was kind of you.
I apologized anyway, but there's a part of me that feels like I shouldn't have apologized, and I shouldn't have let her walk all over me. And maybe it's because I'm the youngest, and she feels like she has some kind of authority over me. I don't know.
Well, what is interesting to me is that when you said, okay, would you like to get together, here she's complaining and letting out this huge bag of anger to you, a blast of air. Yeah. And then she says, well, I'll think about it. That's a passive aggressive move of where she wants to make you pay for the infraction.
Yeah.
So,
the hard part too is at what cost, though. That's where I decided to bite the bullet and just take one for the team, so to speak, because, she is my sister and her feelings are hurt, and it's nothing to me. I mean, I wasn't upset. The only reason I got upset was because she was making me upset, but, I don't want to have to do that next time, because it was very upsetting, and my children came up to me and they were patting me on the back while I was crying on the phone. It's okay. It's that kind of a situation where, how do I avoid that next time before getting into it? And, before she made the phone call, she had texted me and wanted to know, I don't know, somehow she found out that we were still there, not because I was hiding it, but I had just told her matter-of-factly that we were still at Mom's. And so, several hours had passed, and then she called me. And so it felt like she was stewing and steaming over all of this, and then finally decided to call me and explode all over me. So it's like it was a complete irrational, impulsive decision for her.
I like what you... Right, excuse me for interrupting you, Lisa, but I like what you said just now, and I congratulate you that you figured it out, that it was an irrational burst in a conversation, because it was totally irrational. You asked me, what do you do in the future? My suggestion is that you have a schedule. When you go visit your family in the future, have a schedule, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, whatever it is, of where you're going to be, who you're going to be with, so that, and each person, and you email it to each person of what you're going to do, so she knows completely ahead of time. And that should solve it right there.
Yeah.
And if it doesn't, then you know that there are underlying feelings that she has. Remember, one of the ways that we're going to control anger is to take timeouts, and you can do that with her. You can, if she ever lashes out at you again and it's irrational, then you say to her over the phone, we're angry right now, it's a heated conversation, I love you, let's take an adult timeout and we'll come back and talk about this rationally, about what the underlying feelings are. I love you, I'm going to hang up now, bye. So that you set a boundary in that way and don't allow her to talk to you in that way. It's one thing if someone talks to you in a nice way. Well, unfortunately, our time is up. Thank you for calling in, Lisa, and I wish you the best. And see you next Thursday at 2 o'clock. And remember what the quote of the day